Hello. Today I'm going to talk to you about a cultural difference that I experienced while waiting in line at the tax office this week. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Patricia Brooks. I'm an American who's been living in the south of France since 2018, and I help people who are ready to start the next chapters of their lives living and thriving in a foreign country. I help them to find the confidence and courage and wherewithal to actually take the steps that are required to build the confidence and courage to make it happen. And on my channel, I talk about my life in France, about moving abroad, and how to live the kind of life you know you deserve to live. And today I've got a ride-along video where I'm going to share what I've been dealing with over the last week or so around taxes. And something I experienced that was really stressful outside of the fact that I was doing my French tax declaration. And it has to do with standing in line here in France. Now, this footage that you see on the road is of me driving to a town called Amélie-les-Bains, which is a couple of towns over. And I thought that you might enjoy coming along with me. So enjoy the view. Now, I've been doing taxes for the last 2 months, it seems like, doing my US taxes. And then come May, you can start submitting your French taxes. Well, I needed a breather in between the two. And so I didn't get started till a little bit late. And because of that, there was a line outside of the tax office to get help. That is something that I find very helpful, is that they open the tax office up and you can go in with your questions about your tax return and they can help you. And if I did not have to deal with my American taxes, I think it would be a much easier task. My taxes are not that complicated, and still they are when it comes to my French taxes, because I have to understand the treaty. I have to know what boxes to put certain things in. And so I found myself not sure that I had filled out my declaration properly. And so I went in on Tuesday, 2 days before the last day to submit. And I got there really early. I got there about 45 minutes early so that I can avoid standing in line for some indefinite amount of time behind people who were before me. And so I get there and I'm the second person in line. The first person arrived an hour before, and he's seated on a bench that's outside of the tax office. And I sit down next to him. I strike up a conversation with him. And 10 minutes later, a third person comes up. They sit down on the bench next to us. And then more people come. And I find myself saying, I think we need to get up and stand in line in front of the door because more people are coming and we need to hold our place in line. And he kind of looked at me funny. I think he is from Spain, and he looked at me funny, but I got up and he followed my lead. There were just 3 people and he followed my lead. So he's standing in front of me. I'm standing behind him, and the person who got there after me is standing behind me. And so we're holding our place in line. There's 30 minutes before the tax office opens, so we're going to be standing for 30 minutes. But at least we know what place we have in line. So that was Tuesday. I go in, the gentleman at the counter tries to help me with my taxes for 45 minutes. And I just want to know, have I put the figures in the right box? And he's unsure because he doesn't deal with a lot of Americans filing French tax declarations. And so he has gotten up from his desk a couple of times to go check with his boss. And when he comes back for the second time, he says, well, my boss has not yet arrived. He's usually here by now, and I don't want to give you incorrect information. He was really nice. But, after 45 minutes of getting a sense that he wasn't sure, I was getting frustrated. So he said, well, what's your number? When he comes in, I'll consult with him and then I'll give you a call back. Well, I knew full well that I would not receive a phone call because it's 2 days before the deadline. And there were a lot of people who lined up after me. And so when I left, there was a line out the door. And so I knew he was going to be occupied. He wouldn't have time to stop and make a phone call to me. So I said, okay, there's 1 day left before I have to file this. 1 day left that they're open. I can go back on Thursday morning, get up early again, and do this again. And so that's what I did. And wouldn't you know it, the guy who was there first in line was first in line again, because he obviously didn't get what he needed on Tuesday either. And I was, I believe, fifth in line, right? I got there 5 minutes after the time I had gotten there on Tuesday, and I was fifth in line. And so that was fine. That wasn't a problem. But they weren't lined up at the door. And more people started to come. Finally, a woman asked, oh, well, who am I behind in line? Who's the last person in line? And so she knew who she needed to stand behind. And I hadn't done that. So I'm like, well, who am I behind? And this gentleman said, oh, you're behind me. So 5 minutes before I stand up, as they roll the gate up, more people start to pile around the front door. And I jump in line behind the gentleman who said I was behind him. And this woman looks at me, oh, no, you're not there. This is my spot, right? And so, yeah, I didn't contest it because I didn't know. And then it turns out that I was fifth in line. You're behind her. I'm like, okay, not a problem. I'm still early in line. But the frustrating part about this is this is not the first time that this experience has happened to me. When you are at the doctor's office, typically there's not a receptionist to check you in. And there's a waiting room full of people. And so people who come in will ask, oh, who's last in line? But this is not something that I learned how to do in the United States. At a doctor's office, there's receptionists, so you know your place in line. At a tax office, like the situation I had on Tuesday and Thursday, typically people are standing in line, so you know who is next. The problem was on Tuesday, it was fine because I kind of directed how I wanted it to be. And so I wasn't stressed that people were going to bum rush the door and that I was not going to have my proper place in line. But Thursday felt different, and it was stressful. It was stressful waiting and watching more people come. It was stressful trying to figure out, well, am I really behind this person? It was stressful when the woman said, oh, you're not, that's my place, right? I didn't want to butt in line, but the system is different. And for me, very, very stressful. So not only am I stressed because I got to get my taxes figured out, but I also am stressed because I think somebody's going to take my place in line. And in fact, I was taking somebody else's, and I didn't want that either. So that is a cultural difference that I hadn't really recognized. I had experienced this sort of situation at the doctor's office, but that always seemed to resolve itself. What do you think? Have you experienced this in another culture? Have you experienced this sort of thing where you ask, oh, who was before me in line? And there's just kind of a group of people. And then when the time is right, or the doors open, that people are civil and take their proper place in line? Let me know in the comments. All right. So you might be wondering, how did it go at the tax office the second time around? Well, I can tell you that I've submitted my French tax declaration. I did not submit it correctly because I did get a chance to talk to the manager, who is well-versed in the American tax treaty and all of that. But for some reason or other, he was not able to figure out what box to fill in to show that I don't owe because of the tax treaty. So he was going to do his research. He put it in the best he could, looks like on paper, I'm going to owe 4,000 euros, but because of the tax treaty, I am not supposed to owe that. And so before September, I'm going to have to get that straight so that I am not double taxed. All right. So it's still a frustrating situation. I had hoped to have that settled by Thursday so that I could just not have to think about taxes in addition to everything else that I'm dealing with right now, because 2026 is turning out to be a year of administrative matters. In my last video, I shared I sat for the civics exam for my resident card, my 10-year resident card. Next week, I am going to sit for the civics exam again for nationality, so I continue to study that. I need to collect my documents. So it's not been a relaxing week. And I think it's just going to only increase in stress in terms of my administrative matters, the administrative red tape. But c'est la vie. Now, if you are planning to make a move to France and you would like to pick my brain, ask me questions about what it's like to move to France, what the process was for me to get my visitor visa or my profession libérale visa or starting a business in France, or how I decided where I was going to live, or questions of that sort that will give you a little bit more peace of mind as you make your move, then I have something for you. It's called Information Sessions, and it's 30 minutes where you get to pick my brain, as I said. Ask me any questions that you have about my move to France or moving to France, what it's like to move to France, and I will share that, my experiences, and will answer your questions to the best of my ability based on my own experiences. So if that sounds like something you are interested in, you can learn more about that by going to thecouragecatalyst.com/info session and sign up there. I hope to see you on one of those real soon. Now, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with friends, subscribe, and I will see you again next time. Bye for now.